Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get you the essential insights you need. Today, we're doing a really important deep dive into Vietnam. Well, it's become such a magnet for entrepreneurs, right? Especially those of you maybe thinking about not just living there, but actually, building a business. There's a lot of buzz among expats about the opportunities, for sure, but maybe also a bit of confusion about how to actually navigate it all. So our mission today is basically to distill all that vital info about opening and running a business as a foreigner in Vietnam. We've pulled together insights from, well, quite a few sources to give you a clear, actionable guide.
Yeah, and the goal really is to empower you. We want to arm you with, practical knowledge, highlight those potential pitfalls before you hit them, hopefully, and just offer some real-world advice that can simplify what can look pretty complex at first glance. Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to feeling informed and confident about taking that leap.
Okay, let's unpack this then right from the beginning. If you're a foreigner wanting to set up shop in Vietnam, what are the basic legal options? Like, where do you even start?
That's the fundamental question, absolutely. Broadly speaking, you're looking at two main legal structures. First, and honestly the most common for foreign investors, is the limited liability company, the LLC. That's what most foreigners will choose, mainly because it offers the most flexibility. The other option is setting up a representative office. But, and this is crucial, you have to understand its limits. A rep office is strictly for things like market research, liaising, general representation stuff. You absolutely cannot conduct direct profit-making activities through it. It's really just for establishing a presence, not running a full business.
Gotcha. So if you're like, many expats we hear about dreaming of opening that little cafe or a cool boutique shop, maybe a consulting gig,
Yeah,
which seem like really popular ideas, you're almost definitely looking at a 100% foreign-owned LLC then. That's the one that lets you actually run the business.
precisely. That's the structure for those kinds of ventures. And that brings us to a really key point. It often surprises people new to Vietnam, actually. It's a vital piece of info that can save a lot of trouble early on. See, unlike in some other places, you can't just register a business in Vietnam under your own personal name as an individual expat. It's just not an option. You absolutely have to set up a formal company structure, like that LLC we mentioned. Or the alternative is partnering up with a Vietnamese national to set up the business together.
Yeah.
Trying to kind of bypass this, maybe operating informally,
Mm-hmm.
that can lead to some major headaches. Legal trouble down the road, too. It's really a non-negotiable.
Wow. Okay. That's a huge takeaway right there. You need that formal structure. And that leads us perfectly into, well, maybe the less exciting part, but maybe even more critical, the common pitfalls. Because, yeah, the opportunities are fascinating, but I bet a lot of listeners are thinking, okay, what are the tripwires? What do people mess up? Oh,
Yeah.
we've definitely heard stories, haven't we? Expats with great intentions hitting walls.
Absolutely. And yeah, there are some recurring themes we see, unfortunately. For instance, we heard about an expat recently. Let's call her Lynn. Brilliant idea for a small art gallery. She relied on a local friend, totally well-meaning, to handle all the registrations, the paperwork. Thought it'd be easier. But what Lynn found out the hard way was that by putting the business only in her friend's name, well, she basically lost all legal control over her own business. This kind of friendly shortcut, it's one of the biggest and saddest errors we see. It can have really severe consequences. Losing control of your assets, obviously, but also ruining friendships can get very messy, legally.
Oof, that's a really stark reminder about why those formal structures matter so much. What other kinds of landmines do expats stumble into?
Another frequent one, especially if you're in, say, hospitality or retail, is neglecting the other licenses. Beyond just the main business registration. Think about fire safety regs in a cafe. That's a classic example. In Vietnam, those aren't just suggestions. They're strict. They're enforced. Ignoring them, that can get you shut down fast. Big fines, too. Not good for business. And then there's underestimating how important good accounting is. Really reliable accounting services. Lots of people try to do their own books at first, save a bit of money maybe, but honestly, without meticulous records and professional help. Especially with Vietnam's tax laws changing and these like mandatory e-invoicing, you can land in tax trouble really quickly. Oh, and one more, ignoring local labor laws when you hire staff. That's just asking for trouble. Vietnam has clear rules. Employment contracts, minimum wage, social insurance, employee rights. You got to follow them. It's fundamental for keeping things stable and avoiding disputes. Those are some serious warnings. Okay, so given all that, what's the single most important piece of advice, like the umbrella advice, for someone ready to put their time, their money on the line? What's the absolute must-do step?
It really boils down to this. Always talk to a lawyer, or at least a licensed business consultant who knows their stuff. And do it before you make any big financial commitments, before you sink money into the venture. Think of it like insurance, a preventative measure, an investment really in avoiding future pain. I know it seems like an extra cost up front, but trust me, the cost of fixing a mess later, legally, financially, emotionally, it's almost always way, way higher. And I can hear people thinking, okay, but how do I find a good lawyer in Vietnam? How do I know they're reliable? That's a fair question. Checking with expat communities like online groups or reputable chambers of commerce, that's a good starting point. Their recommendations can be gold. Exactly. And understanding these common mistakes, it's not about scaring anyone off, right? It's about giving you that foresight so you can have a much smoother ride, a more successful business journey in Vietnam. It really is key to doing it right. All right, so we've covered what not to do. Let's pivot to the how-to, the practical stuff. For those of you thinking, okay, how do I actually do this? We've put together a kind of simplified checklist, step by step, to make it feel a bit less daunting.
Yeah, let's walk through it. Okay, step 1. Choose your business type and your business name. Sounds simple, but it's foundational. Your type dictates a lot of what comes next. Step 2. You need to secure an official business location with a proper legal address. And it can't just be like your apartment address usually. It needs to be recognized for commercial use. Lots of people start with co-working spaces or serviced offices if they don't need a physical shop front right away.
Okay, that makes sense. Physical legal location. Got it.
Step 3. Prepare and notarize all the required documents. This usually means your passport, a solid business plan, and really don't skimp on the business plan. It shows you're serious and viable and proof you have the investment capital. Accuracy here is super important.
Notarized documents, plan, proof of funds, check.
Step 4. Submit your application. That goes to the Department of Planning and Investment, the DPI. That's when things get official with the government. Step 5, once you get that business registration certificate, hopefully, you then need to open a corporate bank account and deposit the required capital into it. Shows your commitment. It's a legal must-do.
Right, bank account, deposit the capital.
Step 6, register for your tax code. Set up an e-invoice system. This is mandatory now, issuing digital invoices for tax reasons, and crucially, hire a reliable accounting service, like right away. Get your finances compliant from day one.
Tax code, e-invoices accountant.
And step 7. Finally, if it applies to you personally, apply for your work permit and your temporary resident card. This makes sure you are legal to live and work there while running your company. Often your new company sponsors you for this.
That definitely sounds like a list. But yeah, breaking it down like that makes it seem, well, more achievable than just go open a business.
And what about timeline? If everything, goes perfectly.
Realistically, yeah, if it all goes smoothly, maybe 2 to 4 weeks for the whole registration process.
2 to 4 weeks. That's actually not too bad.
It can be quite efficient, yeah. But do people do this themselves or use help?
Good question.
While some brave souls might try it alone, it's actually really common and frankly often a good idea to use specialized agencies. There are firms in Vietnam that just help foreigners with this stuff. They know the ropes, the right wording, the potential glitches. It can seriously streamline things, save you a ton of time and frustration. It means you're not trying to figure it all out solo, Right. Definitely worth considering, especially if you want to focus on, the actual business. Okay, let's shift gears a bit from setup to keeping it running long term. Because getting the doors open is one thing, but running smoothly day to day, that's the real ongoing challenge, isn't it? And the opportunity. What are some really practical tips for managing things successfully in Vietnam?
Oh, a huge part of it, and you really can't overstate this, is relationships. Building strong local relationships. And that means everyone. Your landlord, your staff, your suppliers. Trust and goodwill are just invaluable currency there. Showing genuine respect, investing time in those connections, it pays off in ways you can't even measure. And on the digital side, you absolutely have to leverage the local platforms, Zalo and Facebook. They aren't just popular. They're basically gold mines for local business. Communication, networking, even marketing. If you try to just stick with Western platforms, you'll be at a big disadvantage.
Zalo and Facebook. Got it. What else?
Maintain transparency and keep meticulous records. Documentation for absolutely everything. Receipts, contracts, everything. Keep it organized. Keep it accessible. It protects you during audits. Make sure you're compliant. And a big warning, this is really important. Resist that temptation to kind of go around the rules. Vietnam's governance, its enforcement, it's getting much more sophisticated all the time. Shortcuts that maybe worked years ago, or people look the other way, they often backfire badly now, lead to much bigger problems. It's just safer and better long-term to operate strictly by the book. And finally, maybe a softer skill, but it makes a huge difference. Learn some basic Vietnamese phrases. Seriously, it shows so much respect, it bridges cultural gaps, and it genuinely helps with just daily interactions, building that rapport. Even just a simple come and thank you or xin chào, hello, it can really open doors.
That really hits on something fundamental about doing business there, doesn't it? It's not just about the legal stuff. It's about trust, respect. Those are paramount. It's about, showing up, being honest, delivering good service. Those basics are what build real long-term success and integration.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, I think, is how those cultural insights directly link to practical business success. It's not just like be polite. It's understanding the why behind the what. When you get why relationships are so key, why face matters, why transparency builds trust, it changes how you approach everything, negotiations, managing your team, everything. That deeper understanding, it really makes a massive difference for your whole business journey. It helps you connect, not just operate.
Okay, great insights. So to kind of wrap up the practical advice section, let's maybe share some actionable quick hacks. Resources, things to maybe optimize the process, save a little time, maybe some money. Who doesn't love a good shortcut as long as it's legit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the best strategies, use a reliable one-stop service agency. Those firms that handle everything.
Mhm.
Company setup, ongoing accounting, tax filing, they basically become your admin backbone. It streamlines so much of the red tape, lets you focus on actually running your business. And for community support, practical tips. Get on those local expat Facebook groups, expats in Hanoi, expats in Ho Chi Minh, those kinds of places. Seriously valuable. Full of people who've been there, done that. They share insights, warn you about pitfalls, give contacts, just a ton of real-world knowledge.
Yeah, those groups can be lifesavers.
Totally. And technology-wise, embrace the local apps that work. Mamisa, for example, is huge for e-invoicing. Platforms like Base.vn or Kiot Viet are great for inventory, sales management, especially retail or service spots. Don't try to force foreign software if it doesn't integrate well locally. Use what works there. And finally, maybe just a general hack, but it's powerful. Don't be afraid to ask questions. The expat community, the local business community, they're often surprisingly supportive in Vietnam. Lean on that network. Ask for help.
So what this really means for you, our listener, is the path has complexities. Opening a business in Vietnam isn't always simple, but there are established ways to make it easier. Smart resources, shortcuts that work, and a whole community out there. You really don't have to figure it all out alone. There are effective ways to navigate this really exciting, dynamic place. Okay, that pretty much wraps up our deep dive on opening and running a business in Vietnam. It's clear, isn't it? For those of you with the dream, the determination. Vietnam offers just a massive amount of opportunity. Just remember the key things. Be smart, stay informed because things do change, and definitely don't hesitate to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah, and maybe one final thought to leave you with as you're considering your venture. Beyond all the legal steps, the practical stuff we talked about, really think about this. How deeply understanding and respecting the local culture, combining that with being adaptable, always learning how that can truly transform your business there. It's really the difference, I think, between just surviving, just operating in Vietnam, and truly thriving, integrating, building something lasting, something that becomes part of that vibrant fabric. So yeah, consider how much that cultural nuance will shape your strategy for the long run.